Hi, I'm Tisha Copeland at Not Your Mama's Quilt Store, and I want to show you one of my new favorite tools, a shortcut binding tool. Shortcut binding tool. I bet you haven't seen this too much, but I tell you what, I discovered it at Market a couple of years ago, and I have been in love with it ever since. Let me show you what it can do. There are going to be 3 different ways to put on a binding with this. My favorite one is the flange binding. And that is a binding, here it is right here, that has a little strip of color right here to add a little bit more pizzazz to your quilt. The other kind that it does is a 2-sided binding. See how it's blue in the front, red on the back? The third one that it does is a 2-colored binding with a flange. Here's blue on the front, yellow on the back, and a little flange. And you can really make something look very cute, just like this. This has a flange on it, but look how cute this looks, right? So you can do all of that with this shortcut binding tool right here. So let me tell you first off that the lady who designed this, she wrote instructions for it. It's by the Franklin Quilt Company. Her instructions are phenomenal. They're really, really good. I hate it when I buy something and I get home and I can't remember how to do it. Her instructions are step-by-step with color photos. Thank you. Color photos so you can see what you're doing. And not only that, she explains the other methods that you can do on the back with the colored photos. And if you just forget, you say, you know what, I just don't like to read instructions. I'm not a reader, right? You can go back to my video and watch this, or you can go to her YouTube channel, which is the Franklin Quilt Company, and you can see her video, and she walks you through step by step how to use this, just like I'm doing. I'm basing my presentation right off of hers. But I want you all to see this because this is great. And you know what? When you do a binding like this, all your friends are going to be like, oh, girl, that looks so nice. How did you do that? Oh, my gosh, I'm jelly. Okay, they are. Well, okay, maybe they don't know those words, but they are. They're going to be jealous, okay, because I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler out of the bag. That's always a good place to start. And one of the things that I love about this ruler is that, yes, you can make all of these bindings just by measuring it off. You don't have to have anything special. But I don't want to look for the measurements every single time, okay? I can't even find my laundry sometimes. No, I can find my laundry. I can't find what I threw away sometimes. Socks. I can never find my socks. Whatever. Anyhow, so this is going to make it so easy because you know what? Right here, see these lines right here? This is your measurement that you need to cut your fabric. So when you're cutting your fabric, you're laying out the bolt of fabric or laying out your yardage right here. 1 3/8 of an inch. That's my yardage. That's how wide I need to cut that piece of fabric right there to make my binding. So I'm going to untie this, open this up because I know my assistant here folded everything so nicely and I'm unfolding it. So see, let's say I was going to cut a binding right here. All I have to do is take this tool, line it up right here, see, with the 1 3/8 and cut, move it up and cut. I don't have to go look for the measurements. I don't have to count those little tiny measurements on the other ruler. It's already here. Okay, next thing, you're gonna cut your flange. That's gonna be your different color, right? What you wanna do is a different color. Oh, look, I have my samples right here. So here is my binding right here. See, that's where I cut it, right there. And now I wanna cut the flange color. The flange is gonna be red. And all I do is line it up right here on the red. If I can't remember which is which, I took a Sharpie marker and I write on my rulers and I write on my sewing machine. I know, so stab me, but I write on my tools because, hey, they're mine, okay? So I write on here, this is the binding measurement, this is the flange measurement, and this is for the 2-sided, because when you go to cut for your 2-sided, this is the one you're gonna have. So you know what? major problems already fixed because you don't have to run around looking for these measurements. So now that I've cut all my strips, I'm going to sew them all end to end, one after another, right? Just to make a long binding. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two back to back, okay, back to back, and I'm going to sew them with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just like normal. When I do that, I'm now going to open it up, iron it, fold it over like this, meet the ends right here, and I'm going to iron it. The fold is naturally going to fold over to the blue. You want to fold it to the short side. So I'm going to go ahead and put it down like that, iron it. Look, we've already made the flange and it's already perfect, and you don't have to worry about it wobbling because you know what? You followed the lines. Stitch in the line, color in the line, ladies. Okay, so you have this fabulous little set already ready to go. So the next thing we're going to do is put the binding onto your quilt, and since this is going to flip around to the front of your quilt, you're going to attach it to the back side. So the first thing you're going to do is give yourself about a 10-inch tail and start. Come all the way down, put your binding on just like you normally do. Now when you want to get a really pretty little corner, people always ask me how to do that right here. And this is what I do. Before I stop and go all the way to the end, I stop my sewing machine, say like right here. Then I take this remaining tail right here, fold it over at a right angle. See how I did that? Fold it over at a right angle. Then from there, I take this and fold it over this way. Okay? So now I know that that's where I'm going to get a real pretty fold. The other thing is, when you are sewing like this and you fold over at a right angle, I drew it there so you can see it, but you're going to have a crease right there. And when you get to that crease with your sewing machine, when you're needled, you're sewing like this, and when you get to right here where the crease is, you're going to stop and you're going to sew off the edge. Okay, you're going to go at an angle, you're going to sew off the edge. That's going to allow you to fold this really pretty right there. And then you're going to come back over here, fold it in half, and now go ahead, start stitching right here, back up, go forward, and keep going. You're going to leave about a 10-inch tail on this side as well. So now the other thing that we're ready to do, we're going to combine these two tails together. What you're going to do with that is fold back your tail a little bit, match it up with the other one, and you're going to fold it, leaving about a 1/4 inch space in between right here. Okay, so you got to leave a 1/4 inch space. That's really important. Then what you're going to do is take this, you're going to open this up, and because I'm going to turn this around so you can see what I'm talking about. This is my right hand side. Okay, my right. This is the right hand side right here. Okay, right. This is left. Okay, I'm going to take this now, and where that crease is, remember I folded it right here, where that crease is, I drew a line so you could see it on the camera. I'm going to take this, and you see where these words are right here. This is something I love about it. This is my top right, this is my bottom left. If you don't have it right, if you're like this and you're trying to do it, you can't read it and it says bottom left right there, you know you're on the wrong side. You don't have to, you can't make a mistake with this, which is perfect because it's idiot proof for me. So what you're going to do with this is where the crease line is, you're going to line up this line on her ruler with the crease line. See the crease line that I drew? You're going to line it up right there. And what I'm going to do now is cut right along this edge, right here and right there. So you see where I drew the pencil mark? That's where I'm going to cut. So now I'm going to have a angle right there. This goes aside. Now I'm going to work on my left side. My left side, this is my left, not your left looking at me. My left side, I'm going to do the same thing. Where I had the fold, like this, fold it with a crease. I drew a line so that you can see it. Now I'm going to take the same ruler, I'm going to put it where it says crease line right here. Okay, I'm going to put it right there on the crease line. I'm doing okay because it says bottom left right here, so I know I'm in the right spot. And again, I'm going to cut this off right here. So you can see where I drew it off right there. That's where I'm going to cut it. So that's going to bring us to the next part right here. If you don't love this ruler already, you're just like cray-cray, because this ruler is the bomb, okay? So the next thing you're going to do, now that you've cut those pieces off, all you have to do is take them and join them together, just like this in holy matrimony. We're joined together. What we put together, let no man tear us under. Tear us under. Tear us under what? Anywho, you're going to sew those just together right there, 1/4 inch seam. If you have to maneuver this, because these are going to come out right there, and if it's off just a little bit like that, then just squeeze it and wiggle it back where it needs to be. Put a pin right there to hold it if you have to. Don't sweat it. You just want to have that little flange hooking up together in the right spot, right? Okay, let me show you. See how I'm off right there? So all I would do is move this over just a little tiny bit to get it lined up, and then I would put a pin in it right there, and then I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch seam across these two. When I do that, I now have my seam beautifully put together. I'm going to iron it open. I'm going to fold it in half, and because you left that 1/4 inch, remember, I mean, not the, yeah, the 1/4 inch opening when you were doing it, look, it goes on there perfectly. It's going to fit. You're not going to have any extra fabric there. So now you're going to go ahead and finish sewing right here, okay? 1/4 inch. Now the fun part comes. We're going to take this and we're going to now flip it to the front. Take this one, flip it to the front, and start putting it right in place. And you know what? You're going to stitch in the ditch. Now, I used white thread so you could see it. But if I were doing this as a regular quilt, I would have used red thread on the top, maybe white thread on the back. But so that you could do it, I use contrasting colors. So you can see, I'm going to stitch in the ditch right here along the flange part. When you get up to this corner, it's going to fold really pretty because when you did your little right angle fold like I showed you, and wherever you need to get this to match up just perfectly, stick a pin in there, come right up there, pivot, and keep sewing. Keep sewing all the way around. And you know what I love about this? When you're stitching in the ditch, just like this, look how pretty it comes out, perfectly spaced on the back of the quilt. Instead of having that really wrinkled seam line that normally machine binding quilts have, this is going to be really nice and straight, and it's going to be evenly spaced all around. To me, that's worth the price of admission just right there. So once you've put it all down, you have now put on your binding with a flange. Yay! Woohoo! So let me show you the next thing you want to do, because you're going to have to take it up a notch from there. So the next thing you're going to do is a 2-colored binding, right? So your 2-colored binding, what are you going to do? You are going to get this one, the yellow one. We're going to cut the binding again. This time, this is going to be cut the one, I'm sorry. I was thinking it looked backwards to me. So this time, this is going to be cut the 1 3/4, okay? This is going to be one color. And my other one, the blue one, is going to be cut with this. See right there? So when I sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, take it, fold it down like this, iron it. Now I have a 2-colored binding. All I have to do at this point is sew it onto the front of the quilt. Okay, I'm going to sew it onto the front of the quilt, and I'm going to flip it over to the back of the quilt, and I can stitch in the ditch. I mean, I can stitch right here, or probably put it on by hand. I would probably do it by hand on this one, because otherwise it doesn't give you a very pretty stitch line. So right here, you're going to put it on by hand, but you've got 2-colored binding. Oh my gosh. And the last one I want to show you, because I think these are so cool. This is the two-colored binding with the flange. Again, you're going to use your measurements right here. You have to sew them in a particular order, but her directions, again, are so good. So she tells you exactly what order to sew everything, to put it in, and to make it work. Her instructions are really good. And yes, I highlight stuff so I don't have to look it up every time. So go ahead, sew those together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, 1/4 inch right here, fold it. Now I've got the two-colored binding and the flange. All I'm going to do now is on this one, on the back of the quilt right here, I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, flip it over to the front, fold it right there, and I'm going to stitch in the ditch just right here like this, and that's going to give me the flange, one color binding on the front, another color binding on the back. This is what they look like. I am just so excited about this. You can see this one, the flange, two-sided binding, two different colors, two-sided binding with the flange. The shortcut binding tool is what this is, by the Franklin Quilt Company. This is Tisha Copeland at Not Your Mama's Quilt Store. If you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up. Yay, I think you can do it right there. If you don't like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up. Yay, you can put it right there, okay? And then tell your friends. But more importantly, come on into the store to get this. We've got them available now. I can give you another tutorial. They're only $24.99. 3 different bindings, plus a way to join your ends. $24.99. It is so worth it. All right, thanks for joining me. See you soon.